Rek'Sai and Draven immediately banned out for Cutie Pie Squad. Rek'Sai once again denied from Zen the Soul King or Nightblue. Rek'Sai looking really powerful in this patch, as I mentioned in the previous game. Thresh and Lee Sin, the bans, coming out from Nightblue Squad, not wanting to give up that first pick Lee Sin in this case. Grigny, obviously a very competent Lee Sin player, maybe even stronger than Nightblue. You know, Grigny, a very high tier player. He does have a lot of highlights up there on Reddit, and has done very well in solo queue recently. The Draven ban from Fabi, no surprises there. Fabi playing Draven once in this tournament and doing absolutely fantastically. Draven, one of those champions, you know, with that passive, able to snowball lanes so very quickly, gets gold for every kill. And when you're playing an aggressive team, and if you're Nightblue's team and you're getting as many kills as you did last game, a ton, 28, 33, there were a lot of kills. All of those would have given Draven a ton of money. The League of Draven, even. So, no surprises there that that's banned away from Fabi. Azir, similarly, banned away from Golden Glue. Azir, another one of those champions that's just so very powerful. Always a safe ban for you solo queue players if you're not sure what the enemy lane player or the enemy mid laner can play. But against Golden Glue, a master Azir player, it's definitely one of the smartest target bans we're going to see in this tournament. Janna similarly banned away. Biofrost, of course, had a perfect game on Janna in week 3, and I believe in week 4 as well. So just an absolutely confident Janna player. And with Thresh and Janna banned away, it'll be interesting to see exactly what they go for here. Maybe picking up the Soraka again. Cutie Pie's lineup looks, however, like they want to take the Lissandra for themselves. Lissandra, just so very powerful. Arguably one of the strongest champions on this patch, seeing almost 100% pick and ban record in the OGN preseason. So definitely a champion to watch out for. You know, didn't really receive any buffs, but with this shift to the meta for more assassins and this shift to kind of these jungle team fights with the way the new jungle has been rebuilt, it's just such a very powerful pick and can just do so well in those pinch kind of situations. Zen the Solo King and Nightblue now up to pick. You know, we do see the top laner pick, so I wouldn't be surprised if Zen the Solo King does try to go for a counter pick here. But Nightblue's team last game did go for some interesting flex picks. You know, they had the J4, wasn't clear where it was going to go until it was finalized. Nightblue, of course, doesn't have Lee Sin this game, so it'll be interesting to see what is picked up there. Zen the Solo King hovering over Gnar. Wouldn't be surprised to see this picked up. Nightblue hovering over Corki, and you know, earlier Fabi went into that Corki Graves matchup and suffered a ton in the early game, but transitioning into that mid and late game did so much work. You know, went on to have an almost perfect record and had an excellent KDA overall. Went from losing lane by 20 CS to pretty much crushing the game. So Fabi, obviously a player comfortable with playing from behind, you know, known to play Vayne, definitely has that like wait till late game mentality and can just do so well in a lot of these situations. Gnar, of course, also very strong. Similar to Lissandra, does excellent in those kind of jungle team fights. Always going to be able to pin people to the wall at level 16, of course. With that max rank Gnar, his ultimate, is going to have 3 seconds total of CC in Mega Gnar form. And if you can land that on multiple people, it just does so much work. Gonna have a hard time, though, against this Jarvan and this Lissandra. One interesting interaction is, of course, that the Gnar will knock people into the Cataclysm and will stun them. So Grigny does have to be careful about where he chooses to ult, and you know, we could see that go very wrong very quickly if Grigny ults in the wrong time. Once again, we see Graves picked up. Not a surprise there. Ethel, of course, very comfortable on Graves, and definitely a positive lane matchup. And if they can't make the good lane matchup works, you know, it's going to be really hard if they pick something less than perfect against this Corki lane. Curious to see what they're going to pair Corki with this game. There's obviously a lot of supports on the table. Nami is something we haven't seen yet this week. Sona we did see played last week and did very well. Wukong the hover over here, not something I've personally seen Nightblue play a whole ton of, but Nightblue, of course, very comfortable on a number of junglers that will most likely be the Wukong jungle. But you never know. Could be the Wukong top, could be the Gnar jungle. Highly unlikely, though. Nightblue has not busted out the Gnar jungle in a very long time. And once again, the Vel'Koz pickup. Azingi, not known for having the deepest champion pool in the support role, mostly because he's not a support player. Zingy is, of course, a career jungler, has played in the Challenger League on a couple of different teams, so won't be surprised to see that go to him. Could mix it up, though. Definitely could pick up a different character for the bot lane, could instead pick a mid laner. On the opposite side, Love, the KT Smurf, looks like we'll be taking that Orianna into the mid lane, while Cutie Pie himself will be taking Lissandra into the top lane. Lots of AP, lots of magic damage, rather, coming out from Cutie Pie's team. Comp Leona, of course, doing predominantly magic damage. Those Sunlight procs doing work in the mid to late game, and as well as giving early game advantage. And Leona Graves, of course, just such an aggressive bot lane. And then pair that with the Orianna and the Lissandra, you do see Cutie Pie's team assembling that Wombo comp, but Nightblue squad on the opposite side seems equally eager. The Vel'Koz ultimate, the Corki poke, and of course the Wukong and Gnar all in. So these are two teams so far, both looking to team fight, both looking for those all-out 5v5 engages, and a lot of this is going to come down to who has superior vision control and who can make those good decisions on the fly. The last pick we do see coming out is that Xerath pick, so we are going to see a pretty passive mid lane Orianna, of course, one of the safest mid lane picks you can make. No surprises that was picked up when it was, guaranteeing yourself a semi-solid matchup against Golden Glue no matter what he picks, and Golden Glue opting for the Xerath. So, tons of poke here. We have the Xerath and we have the Vel'Koz as well, but of course, and Vel'Koz and Corki, so lots of poke coming out from the team, and then lots of all-in. Unfortunately, Gnar and Wukong, not quite so good at disengaging. It's not a Janna pick, it's not a Gragas. There's no real way to knock people away from you, but the knock-ups may be enough. The Gnar ult, of course, too, can be used to disengage, so they have to be careful here. Both teams, it's looking like whoever gets a lead in the early game here is going to be the one to come out on top. And one of the big things to consider is that J4 is going to be able to gank so much earlier than Wukong in a lot of these situations, and with so much more efficiency, just because of the way J4 can stack his CC. Now, last game, we saw Zen the Solo King take Jarvan into the top lane, which was a good choice because it let Nightblue get in there very easily with Lee Sin. But this game, it's going to be Grigny ganking that top lane pretty much constantly, getting in there with the flag and drag combo and giving PewDiePie the opportunity to follow up with as much CC as possible. So Zen the Solo King is going to have to play very carefully, but luckily he's playing Gnar, a very safe champion in lane, and definitely overall a very powerful champion, two of the most powerful top laners currently played by both sides. The only one remaining, of course, is Rumble. So curious to see what exactly is going to happen here, how these teams are going to shape out, and both of these teams looking for that big team fight. Fabi's team maybe a little bit more poke-oriented, but when you see a Leona, a Graves, an Orianna, a J4, and a Lissandra as well, just so much potential for all-in, so much AoE, and if you can hit multi-target shockwaves at any stage during the game, if Leva can, those team fights are going to end very quickly. So curious to see how this will work out. Lots of hard engage on both sides. Very aggressive teams. Guys, we will be back in 2 minutes. If you want any more information about this tournament, head on over to OMEN.gg. The format we're doing is a little interesting. It is the OGN regional qualifier format. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, I'll be more than happy to explain it after the game. But in the meantime, we're going to take a quick break before we hop in here. We'll be back shortly. Hey everybody, welcome back to Game 2, Nightblue versus PewDiePie. PewDiePie squad down a win, Nightblue up 1-0. And at this point, it's going to be really curious to see exactly how this works out. PewDiePie's team picking a much more conventional team comp this game, much less Nunu from PewDiePie. PewDiePie on Lissandra, not a champion we've seen him play too much, but obviously a champion who is very, very powerful. Definitely a high skill champion, or a high skill cap champion as well, though. So it'll be interesting to see if PewDiePie, a very confident mechanical player, will be able to learn this one on the fly, or if this is something he's been practicing in secret. Golden Glue throwing out those shots whenever possible, trying to get as much poke down here as possible. We do see a lot of poke coming in from Nightblue's side. We have the Xerath, we have the Corki, and we have the Vel'Koz, so a lot of long-range magic damage-based harass. And then, of course, a lot of AD follow-up. We've got the Gnar, we've got the Wukong. So Nightblue on this Wukong jungle, not something we've seen a whole ton of since the changes to the jungle, but definitely still very powerful. Can use that decoy to tank the early jungle, which means that the early clear is going to be much stronger, but hardly comparable to Jarvan's. Jarvan considered one of the strongest, if not the strongest, jungler on the current patch, comparable only to Lee Sin. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how this works here. Nightblue squad looks like they may be going for the late invade here. They know that they're going to start Gromp. They may try to all in here. Zen the Solo King and Nightblue slowly going to come into the dragon. You can see there now they're starting to go. They know that J4 is going to start the Gromp on the top side. Meanwhile, Fabi and Zingy opting to try to take it away. Nightblue going to smite that back, take away level 2, and they almost try to all in there under the turret. So great late invade from both sides of the map. We see they're now going to attempt to contest blue buff. For those of you wondering exactly why that was done, of course, denying Gromp experience is especially important. And the bot lane, Ethel and Biofrost, obviously have a very strong duo and can take down those Krugs on their own. So when they take down the Krugs, they're going to get a substantial EXP advantage and be able to jump back into lane and get level 2 faster. But because Fabi and Zingy went into the bottom side of the jungle and denied them that, they're not only not able to get that XP advantage, they're incredibly far behind because of the sheer amount of damage they took in that small exchange. So this early aggressive play, exactly what we wanted to see from Fabi and Zingy. This is exactly where they lost out in the early game before, but now with no Soraka to heal up Ethel in these situations, and no one to heal up Biofrost either, as except for Ethel, who of course burns his own very long heal cooldown there to keep Biofrost alive. And this is where they have to play incredibly careful. Leona with no flash means no escape option. She can only go in if she wants to fight, and only level 1 at this stage in the game compared to Fabi and Azingi's level 2. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we see the CS relatively similar, as well as the top lane. Gnar not going to be able to push quite as well as Lissandra at this stage, so not able to pick up quite as much CS. And of course, trying to poke out with that boomerang blade, but QtPie doing an excellent job of dodging it. Nightblue now looking to play a little bit aggressive in that top lane, but not nearly as aggressive as Grigny, who's gone all in this bot lane. It looks like they're going to get first blood onto Fabi. Excellent play. Grigny procking that red buff, and Biofrost and Ethel there to follow up as well. This is exactly what they wanted. The early game advantage I talked about going to Fabi is now all but gone, as Ethel and Biofrost will now be able to CS up safely in this lane. Meanwhile, on the top lane, Gnar coming in for Zen the Solo King, but nothing going to come from it, as QtPie is more than comfortable to stay in that lane. Golden Glue looking very confident, though, able to spam abilities much more frequently than Orianna at this stage of the game. Does have that passive, able to restore a significant amount of mana each time each time it's off cooldown, and he auto attacks. Of course, when you're laning against an Orianna, she is more than happy to trade an auto attack, except in this case, it is going to give Xerath more mana sustain and hence more damage in lane. So that lane slowly going, or staying even mostly, but the trading was slowly going in the favor of Golden Glue there. But now with some patient play, level up has restored a little bit of a mana advantage, which will come in huge as they start to approach level 6, level 4 now, and quickly gaining. QtPie getting pushed out in this lane. Zen the Solo King, of course, a manaless champion, and able to push out freely. That boomerang blade doing so much work in this situation. QtPie also playing incredibly cautiously. Nightblue level 3, but Grigny level 2. Grigny, of course, did go bot for that early lane gank, but did get something out of it, so it did pay off dividends. You can't really see the substantial gold advantage he has, and he's about even with Nightblue, despite the fact that he did get his bot lane a kill. And of course, Graves now with that early pickaxe is going to be able to do so much work. Zen the Solo King completely unafraid of QtPie. Is going to try to get the stun off there, but it's not going to happen. We'll also try to stop the boulder as he walks away, but also not going to happen. Lova now pushing up this mid lane. Knows that they want to make some plays in this mid game. Has to be careful here. Fabi and Azingi waiting in the bush. It looks like Grigny going to take a little bit of poke, but nothing too bad going to happen. There's Zen the Solo King playing hyper aggressive while that Gnar is up, and now backing off as soon as he turns into Mini Gnar. In the bot lane now, Ethel freezing the wave, trying to make sure that he can get as much CS as possible, trying to deny Fabi as much farm as possible. But of course, Nightblue is going to be able to get vision control over that dragon area as a result, and they will be able to take out the Scuttle Crab if they want to. Doesn't look like they'll try to take it at this point, though. Never mind, they are going to try to take it. Casper's Curse. Moving forward in this game, one of the big things that's going to be more and more important is when are we going to see these transition to our early game objectives, because both of these teams are very, very well positioned to fight in those pinch situations, and both of these teams eagerly waiting for level 6. You know, this early game is not going to be very actiony because none of these champions are particularly powerful in the early game, excluding Graves. Nightblue, of course, going to be very aggressive there. Is going to use that smite to get the slow off the last possible second. Level up, going to use heal to get up on out of there. Does take a little bit of damage from Nightblue, as he does have the poison armor from the Gromp, but not enough to get a kill there. They do, however, get the heal. Nightblue having to burn smite there. Not a huge cooldown issue for him. Is going to have trouble clearing this jungle, though. Will be able to use the decoy to get away safely. As I was saying earlier, the bot lane, the only aggressive lane coming in from QtPie's squad. The rest of the lanes more than happy to just farm up, wait for that level 6, and start to move as a team. So that's one of the big things here is Lissandra going to be able to have the same impact on a team fight as Gnar in the mid game? Probably, and if so, QtPie's team is going to be able to scale very, very well. Obviously, we have a lot of potential damage coming in late game from Xerath, going to be able to blow up that Graves pick relatively easily since there's no Soraka or there's no heals. But, you know, can they get to that late game stage? Can they get in a situation where they can push down a lane and poke out the enemy team before they fight the hard engage? And if not, you know, they're just going to get collapsed on by this J4 pick, by this Lissandra. We saw Nightblue's team do the same exact thing last game with much, much success. Obviously, the mid lane Lissandra is slightly different, but still very, very powerful. Then the Solo King, eager to push out that wave, wants to be able to TP whenever possible, has to be careful about TPing without Gnar, though, because Gnar, of course, unlike Lissandra, not always going to be able to reliably have that Gnar form up, and a lot of playing Gnar is timing his Gnar appropriately with when your team wants to take objectives, so you can provide the most amount of CC possible. Mini Gnar just not really having any kind of team fight impact compared to Lissandra, so Zen the Solo King has to be careful here. We have seen him play Gnar before, and he has done very well. I believe that was in week 2 of the OMEN encounter, so Curious to see if he can bust out the same level play. Nightblue, however, going to stealth in and come to the spot lane, going to flash Ethel immediately, the flow going down. They are going to go in all in on Ethel, but not going to get anything out of it. Going to get a little bit of damage on Biofrost, but nothing too noticeable there. Biofrost going to try to turn this. They are going to get the TP out. Nightblue is going to slay Ethel, and Zen the Soul King is there to back up if need be. QtPie not opting to follow in. Does burn the TP cooldown, but not going to get anything out of it. Decides to back out. Doesn't want to go in there and contest. Is definitely not in a situation to fight a 4v2 or even a 4v1 if they would have been able to kill Leona there. And now Nightblue's squad is going to be able to transition this into a Baron very easily. Nightblue himself now 1-0-0. Lagging a little bit behind in EXP compared to J4, but nothing going to be too big there. Is going to pick up the Dragon for himself, and his team now with that 6% AD and AP boost is going to be pretty big. The only character on the team, of course, that are going to use it fully are going to be Jarvan, or sorry, not Jarvan, Corki and Xerath, because of course Nightblue himself will be limited to a sort of tanky build, as well as Zen the Solo King, who will get a little bit of bonus AD just from building the Hex Drinker, but outside of that is not going to build too many aggressive items. Well, he could. You never know with Nara. Nara, of course, has a lot of potential build paths. We could see the Triforce, maybe something a little less conventional, but definitely still powerful. QtPie trying to dive here. Don't know if he knows Lissandra's power. This is a very uncomfortable situation for him. Does not have the damage to follow up in any way, shape, or form. Has to be careful here. Obviously, Mega Gnar giving him so many resistances and all the defensive stats he needs. With Grigny there, though, this could turn into the dive they want. Nightblue, of course, getting spotted out by that ward means that QtPie and Grigny are going to back off, not wanting to commit too many resources. QtPie, still at a comfortable health level, though, is going to opt to push out this lane before he decides to be in. Zen the Soul King will be forced to stay here and last hit this. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, GoldenGlue forced to stay in the mid lane as well, as Love consistently is pushing out, waiting to find a team fight where he can have impact, but GoldenGlue as Xerath has able to have a lot more impact from a lot shorter range. Has to be careful with the Shockwave, but as long as the Orianna Shockwave is off cooldown, he will always be able to reliably ult. And you know, as he approaches level 11, that ult is going to be able to pretty much hit. Once he gets to the middle river, pretty much hit any lane he needs it to. So a lot of range from Xerath deck, very strong. Can contribute to team fights, not cross map, but obviously with a very long range in a similar way to that Pantheon or TF can. So that kind of damage and that kind of utility, I expect to be used pretty well in this mid game. And if it's not, you know, once again, those team fight situations, they have to be careful because literally all 5 champions on QtPie's lineup want to team fight. They all have AoE, they all benefit greatly in a lot of those situations, whereas, you know, 2 of the champions on Nightblue's squad would be happy to team fight, but the other 3 don't want to be anywhere near the middle of that kind of fight, especially when there's that Leona stun coming in. Almost guaranteed to land Leona ultimate in a lot of these situations. Won't be surprised to see QSS built by anyone on that team this game just because of the sheer amount of hard CC coming out. But at this stage in the game, it would put them greatly behind a gold advantage. You can see small gold advantage coming in for the side of QtPie. 700 gold, nothing too important at this stage in the game. Maybe a couple extra wards, maybe an extra longsword. Not going to have too much of an impact. You can see in the jungle, Nightblue using a little bit of advantage. Fabi is going to get engaged on here. The sun does go down. The sunlight, he tries to follow up with the ultimate, but is not going to get that solar eclipse off. And solar flare off, sorry. It's not going to do quite the work they want to do. Now it's trading back. All winning with his ultimate here is going to be able to pick up Ethel. That base damage on Vel'Koz's ult is just so high, and if you can land all of it, which is what Zingy just did, you are going to be able to crush just about anyone. Grigny is here to follow up if necessary, though. They try to go in here. It's going to go immediately in on Fabi. The exhaust is coming out. They have to be careful. Will the rocket be able to beat the Firefrost? No, it will not. Fabi himself will go down to Imaqtpie shortly here. QtPie waiting the last couple seconds for the auto attack, maybe trying to troll a bit there. Doesn't have ultimate available for his if necessary. Will may have to ult himself. Good call from him. Would have gone down, and Nightblue is immediately going to get knocked up, though. QtPie has to be careful. The follow-up from GoldenGlue is there. If he can land a thing, looks like he is going to miss every single one of his ultimate clocks, and Nightblue is going to roll down. GoldenGlue, however, is available to follow up. Does have heal, does use the movement speed to get away from Love, but Love is hot on the tail of GoldenGlue. GoldenGlue, however, has to buff. We'll have the stun up shortly. We'll have the slow up shortly. You can see him flashing out of that shockwave. Almost a prediction that flash was so quick, and a little bit of sloppy play from Love as he tanks the last bit of that stun. So overall, 4-3 now. Definitely not the fight that QtPie's squad wanted, but overall, good movement from QtPie's team. Good TP from Cutie himself to pick up the kills that he did. Biofrost making it out of there at such low health. Biofrost, a confident support player in this tournament, and showing off here that he's pretty much comfortable on any pick. You know, he may not have Janna, he may not have Thresh, but he's doing some work with this Leona. 0-0 and 3 now. Compared to the Greenies, 1-0 and 3, both of those teammates working hard to get the team the kills that they want. QtPie now 2-1-1, has 40% CDR at this stage of the game. which is just going to be huge. Going to be able to make a ton of plays. Nightblue getting aggressive and trying to dive here. Has to be careful, though. Love has barely enough mana to shield himself if necessary, and Golden Glue, with no ult available, is not going to be able to ult in and try to pick up the last bit of damage on that Orianna kill. Nothing really going to come from that. Nightblue burning Smite for not a whole lot there. And, of course, Orianna not having to burn much of anything, so maybe a little bit of over-aggression from Nightblue, but the potential for a kill is, of course, always going to call to him. Grigny getting spotted out by the pink ward, immediately backs out when he sees Nightblue is available to follow up. Has to be careful here. QTPie will have ultimate available because he has that 40% CDR, as I mentioned earlier. QTPie playing very careful in this situation. Uses the claw to get out, and once again, that Zingy just throwing out that ultimate, trying to get as much damage off as possible. May have been able to pick up the kill on Grigny, but excellent response from Biofrost with that solo flare to stop Zingy from ulting, and Zingy having to flash out in that situation is going to put him in an awkward position in a lot of these team fights. Zen the Solo King poking out a lot here. QTPie has to be careful. QTPie using that to get, or using the claw to get away in that situation. Not going to get picked up there by Golden Glue, and Golden Glue not looking very confident on these ultimates. Admittedly, I think he's landed one now. That one on QTPie that we just saw. The rest of the other three, of course, missing down there in the bot lane, but he was there in that case to follow up, so it didn't make too much of a difference, but in this case, not able to pick up that kill at all. Lissandra, however, will be forced back, does not have her teleport cooldown, so the team may look to push down mid lane, but instead are going to rotate down to the bottom side of the map, may try to get some vision on the bottom side of the jungle, and, you know, Dragon will be up here in about 16 seconds. Instead of going for that turret objective, they are going to try to go for something else. Zen the Solo King has to be careful, though. He will not have Meg and R if the enemy team tries to contest this Dragon. Will be stuck in mini-Gnar form, so not nearly as much CC, and no real disengage options in that case. However, Nightblue will have ultimate, which will come in immensely in handy in that situation, and it looks like instead of immediately trying to take this, they are going to instead be patient, wait till they see QTPie top. They know QTPie does not have teleport available. Zen the Soul King will be able to TP back up top after they take this Dragon to defend it. And overall, good map movement from Nightblue's team. Good patience to wait till they saw a few members on the enemy team on the map to try to take this, and that is going to be their second Dragon. Now having the pushing power, which on a poke comp is going to be so huge. They do, however, have to give that top lane turret. Zen the Soul King not opting to TP top. Wouldn't have had the time. Tower would have gone down. TP may have been canceled, so they do trade a tower for a Dragon in that situation, a very common trade. Unlike in patches before, patch 420, however, you don't trade gold, you trade the Dragon buff for a turret. So in this case, that pushing power not going to come in huge, and they do have to be careful here. Nightblue is immediately going to fall for the ultimate. FTP is coming in from Zen the Soul King. Zen the Soul King, however, does not have Mega Gnar, does not have any CC, is going to get pulled in by that level of a shockwave. Nightblue is going to flash out immediately. Golden Glue ready to follow up if necessary. Biofrost coming in from the backside, may try to get something here, but is instead going to back off. Two low health members on the side of Nightblue's squad. Is going to get the solo flare off. They try to go in for the solo kill on his own. The kill does come out though. Protects on the Solo King, and instead Biofrost is immediately going to get turned on. No follow up from Grigny there. Grigny not wanting to go into that meat grinder, and of course the rest of the team nowhere in sight. So despite excellent play from Levelova will go down. Does get both flashes from the enemy team members, but won't get anything from it. Biofrost playing a little bit too aggressive. You know, I praised him earlier, but he's been much more comfortable on these defensive supports, and it looks like these aggressive supports having a hard time breaking that mentality that he has to go in just about any one of those situations. 5 kills now for the side of Nightblue, slowly swinging back in their favor, tied up in the gold lead. And of course, they do have 2 Dragons at this point, which is going to give them, you know, not a ton of gold stats, but of course, tower pushing power and or tower dealing extra damage to towers, and of course also the extra 6% AD and AP will help them out a lot in these situations. Fabi has finished the Triforce Graves. Ethel on the opposite side will look to go back and finish this Infinity Edge here. Maybe Static should have been set for pushing power, although that's highly unlikely. He does pick up the Infinity Edge. Grigny has finished the Warrior Enchantment similar to Nightblue, but appears to be going now for a tankier route as opposed to Nightblue, who has picked up functionally 2 Brutalizers at this stage in the game. The Warrior Enchantment building out of one, and then of course the other one in his inventory has opted to pick up a pink ward here. You can see both teams buying an absurd amount of wards, support mid and jungler on QTPie's side. Do have those pink wards. QTPie clearly stepping up his game after getting beaten so badly in the last game. A lot more comfortable to get a lot of those jitters out. Zen the Soul King looks like he may go down here. They do have to be careful about how many cooldowns they blow on this, but it looks like Golden Glue is ready to follow up. Not going to get a whole ton out of QTPie once again, dodging all 3 of those procs. And the thing he doesn't have the sight follow up, does when he finally gets it. Follow up there, and Nightblue's going to try to play aggressive here. They have to be careful. QTPie putting himself in an awkward situation. Fabi is going to get caught out. So much burst damage, so much CC coming in from Biofrost, playing very aggressive there. Nightblue, however, is going to be able to pick up that kill on QTPie. As I mentioned earlier, QTPie kind of pathed himself behind the enemy turret, and that was going to be his death. But good play from Biofrost to get that catch out. Good follow-up from Ethel in that situation. Loves Lova, of course, moving wherever he can, not quite getting the number of assists that he wants, but still having a reasonable impact on his team. 10 CS behind now in this mid lane. Fabi once again falling behind, 144 to his 129, about a 15 CS differential at this stage in the game. And, you know, this is where we saw Fabi at the start of the last game. Definitely not with less deaths, though. Nightblue immediately ignoring the Leona to jump over the wall there. Biofrost not able to get off the CC necessary to stop Nightblue from going in, and then Golden Blue, of course, following up with that excellent range to take her out. It's a little uncomfortable. Quickly not able to pick anything up there. Will get the final auto attack off in that situation, but Nightblue playing so patient, using that decoy, stalling that out as long as possible, and Grigney going too deep for that kill. 3 members down now on their side. They are going to lose this mid lane turret for their aggressive play, but QtPie, eager to follow up, instead is not going to do anything. Golden Blue a little sloppy on the flash. Very scared of QtPie, clearly. Did see Ethel there ready to follow up. Obviously, the burst damage from the Graves and Lissandra would have been able to take him out, but I don't think QtPie is... Even QtPie is that crazy to jump into 3 teammates like that, or 3 enemy team members like that. Sorry about that. Dropped something. Alright, moving forward, they are going to take the blue buff here. Or attempt to take the blue buff as it is taken away from them. It looks like QtPie is going to pick it up in that situation. A little awkward given how much time and members they committed to that situation. You can see QtPie's ward control in this game has been committed to the bottom side of the map, so it looks like they do want to contest those dragons. Obviously, the 5th dragon is very powerful on this current patch. That 5th dragon buff doubling the dragon stats and giving you that additional true damage, making you so very strong. QtPie's team, well, probably just happy to get that 6% AD and AP at this stage of the game, but definitely wanting to deny that movement speed from Nightblue's team. On a poke comp, when you have that extra 5% movement speed, it's so much easier to kite away from these hard engaged teams. And of course, when you're on a hard engaged team and you have the 5% movement speed, it's so much easier to get into those team fights you want. You can see Orianna, Leona, and Lissandra moving together as a team to try to find those five-man fights that they want. But meanwhile, of course, Nightblue's team is going to start pushing down the mid lane. They do need to ward their flanks, however, if they are going to try this. Warding your flanks absolutely crucial when playing a push comp or a poke comp in this situation, because you cannot afford to get engaged on from the side. You know, you do need to keep your backline safe, and with a Gnaw and with a Wukong, you can, in theory, do that. But you have to be clever about how you approach it, and you definitely want to be careful about where you back. You can see Grigney wanting to play aggressive here, is pinging that out. Ethel is also available to follow up. Both team members look like they may be leading into a team fight here. Biofrost getting poked out a little bit. Both teams going to disengage from each other. Nightblue backing off. The rest of the team members from QtPie squad moving in. Don't have the wave pressure to push this tower, but eager to look for that team fight. You can see them moving as 5 right now. No surprises there. This is what their team is designed to do. And of course, Nightblue squad backing off, trying to get the necessary vision control to get the team fight that they want. And they have to play careful here. You know, despite having a 1k gold advantage, 1k at 20 minutes is almost meaningless. It's going to be the difference in wards or the difference in a giant's belt at this point for Nightblue, so that just about alone accomplishes the difference in their golds. And the Solo King playing very aggressive here has to be careful there. You can see that Orianna ball attached to Biofrost. Lova more than happy to shockwave if Biofrost does try to go in, and this is Fabi taking down the dragon with the rest of his team. Then the Solo King immediately following up with that Gnar. Grigney going to get, or pull himself out despite getting stunned in that situation. So excellent use of the flag and drag there. I don't even know if he could have predicted that it would have worked out that way, but they do have to give up the dragon here. So good movement from Zen the Solo King. Uses those full aggressive Gnar cooldowns to knock them into the wall and to prevent them from falling up on the dragon buff. And of course, QtPie's team has to back off there, has to play careful because they don't know if the rest of the team will be there to follow up. You know, Golden Blue, despite not being able to go in a lot of these situations, like the rest of QtPie's team, can provide a lot of damage with his ultimate. It provides it from such a great range that you can never be sure when the enemy team is going to engage on you. So, Zen the Solo King kind of using his own team comp strengths to scare the enemy out of contesting. And of course, the amazing vision control coming in from Nightblue squad is just going to do so much work. Look at the bottom side of the map. It's just red, the whole thing. And there is nowhere that QtPie squad can go without getting spotted out by Nightblue's team at this point in the game. You can see Nightblue himself, not on Lee Sin this game, but still 5-2-4, doing so much work. You know, doesn't have the same early game strength that Lee Sin does, but still providing so much pressure in these team fights. And QtPie appears ever eager to go down here. He's going to drop from Golden Blue in that situation. And a little lackluster QtPie caught shopping. caught typing maybe even perhaps, and just definitely not the situation he wanted. Zen the Soul King, however, misses that boomerang there. We won't worry about it. It's a little bit longer cooldown, but when you've killed PewDiePie for free, you can pretty much get that tower for free in this situation, so no surprises that Zen the Soul King is going to push that out. Biofrost, however, moving to respond in case they try to push anymore. And, they still can't get this 3-man combo off. Biofrost, however, getting sent out almost immediately. Definitely does not have any of his CC in a good situation. Is going to get knocked up there. Immediately followed up on Biofrost. Not going to get that CC in there. Fabby following up almost instantaneously. Love is going to get the shockwave off. It's going to stop Zen the Soul King from getting in too deep. But Zen the Soul King will get out and live. They have to be careful here. Love very low. Zingy looking to follow up here. PewDiePie is going to ult himself, keep himself alive a little bit longer. Nightblue hanging around the outside. Not able to pick up a kill there. Grigney also has to play careful here. Nightblue doing so much work in this situation. Zingy immediately blowing his off on Grigney. Grigney flashing over the wall. Zen the Soul King pursuing, but Zen has to be careful here. Fabby following up at full health is able to take out Grigney. No problem. 8-15 now is the score. Nightblue's team is immediately going to push down this mid lane. They have the wave pressure in their favor. They do still have to be careful for this Leona Graves combo. So much burst damage coming out there. Maybe not respecting it enough. Fabby looks like he is going to get caught out. Ethel not in position to follow up, so does not have home guard boots. Fabby and Nightblue instead backing off. More than happy to exchange a lot of those long cooldowns for nothing in that situation. They have to be careful here. Nightblue playing very aggressive. Is going to get flash stunned. Ethel is going to pick that one up, no problem. Gets the red buff. Going to get a little CS too. And Ethel now 3-2-0 doing a lot of work. And of course, Biofrost playing hyper aggressive. It's punished him a little bit in the early game, but it did a lot of work there for him. Able to recoup a bit of the gold loss they experienced in the last fight, changing it from about 5k to about 4k. So 4k disadvantage to PewDiePie's team. Once again, not looking so good from them. This team comp, though, looking a lot stronger. So unlike last game where PewDiePie's options to come back were incredibly limited, PewDiePie's team is always going to be able to find that team fight. And PewDiePie overestimating his own damage, has to be very careful here. Zen the Soul King does have Mega Gnar for him. Ethel, however, will be able to follow up, and it looks like Zen the Soul King is going to get caught out almost immediately. However, Goldenblue is ready to follow up, does not land a single shot again because of the knock for Goldenblue. One day he'll hit an ult, folks. One day he'll hit an ult, and we will see it. But that day, not looking like today, unfortunately. Ethel, of course, gonna get another kill there, 4-2-0 now, looking incredible at this stage in the game. And PewDiePie, despite that what looked like a very awkward engage, turned into a very good bait as Zen the Solo King was taken out there. The rest of Nightblue's team, seeing the enemies committed to the bot lane, does take this opportunity to get a little bit of vision on the top side of the map, but not going to be able to do a full ton with this. Don't have all 5 members there. Very reliant on that Gnar for disengage. Nightblue's ult alone will not be enough. That Wukong Cyclone, of course, will potentially be able to knock up all 5 members of the team, but when you're playing against Lysandra and a Jarvan, it's not going to matter quite so much, because if you can trap them in the center of that ring, then it's just not going to do enough damage to stop the team fight from going in the favor of PewDiePie's squad. PewDiePie's lineup, though, may have overextended, thinking the enemy was a Baron, and now will have to give up the bottom side turret. Nightblue himself, though, does have to be careful, is going to use that stealth. They can see him under the turret there, but not going to be able to do too much with it. Zingy doing so much work with that ultimate. Zingy will, however, go down to PewDiePie in this situation. Now they're going to take down the turret and immediately back out. They have to be careful. PewDiePie coming over the wall, ulting himself very well, goes down almost immediately, but because of the protection nature of that ultimate, he does keep himself alive. Of course, that W from Xerath is canceled, but PewDiePie keeps himself safe with that Sonya. Anyway, Love back down. They have the like Nightblue not able to get in. And Zen the Soul King, eager to pick up kills here, does get the double kill with Gnar. Gnar doing so much base damage, and obviously has a substantial amount of damage on his own. Zen the Soul King will, however, go down here. Good on Zen the Soul King to pick up those 2 response kills, but now all 5 members down for Nightblue's squad there. What was once a 4k gold lead is now a 2k gold lead for Nightblue's team. 6 towers to 2, but PewDiePie's team coming back, and that is exactly the team fight they wanted. Excellent play from PewDiePie. I harped on him a little bit earlier, like he may not have the experience necessary to do or to play this champion, but you can see with that 40% CDR, using both of those Zhonya's cooldowns so well in that fight, just did work, and was able to follow up so well on every one of his team members' engages. Biofrost 2 also doing well, 0, 3, and 13, not accruing any more deaths at this stage in the game, but continuously adding up on those assists. And of course, Ethel there, more than happy to provide all the damage necessary. 6-2-2 now, and what was once 4-2-0, and even before that 3-2-0. So Ethel doing a lot of work. Meanwhile, of course, Goldenblue, despite his inability to hit ultimates this game, is 5-1-5 and doing a lot of damage. Does already have Morellonomicon, Deathcap, and Void Staff, as well as Sorcerer's Shoes, so it's going to be able to pierce through any MR on the opposite side. Leona, the only person so far to build one other than J4, or any MR other than J4, and that alone, is going to help out a lot in these team fights. And one of the big things at this point is You know, can Golden Glue get off the poke necessary to dissuade these all engages from QtPie's team? And you know, he is getting off those kills pretty reliably, so it'll be interesting to see when QtPie's team decides to engage. You know, if they do not decide to engage fast enough, their lack of decisiveness will be lethal. It looks like Biofrost is suffering that right now, taking a lot of too much damage from poke. QtPie ulted himself almost immediately. Will have the Zhonya's cooldown available as well. Is immediately going to use it. Will go down here very quickly. The Nightblue playing a little bit too forward, but does zone the rest of the team members out and keeps them safe as they take down QtPie. Dragon is available. Biofrost too low to contest. Too many cooldowns blown on the side. Love, however, still has Shockwave. It looks like instead Love and Ethel will opt to push down the mid lane, but they are going to be getting up this what would appear to be a fourth dragon in this situation. And this right here is going to be huge. You know, that is extra minion damage and extra monster damage, which will make it that much easier to take the Baron, and of course ever closer to that fifth dragon buff. Ethel, of course, going to respond with this middle lane tower, shoring up most of the gold. But keep in mind that's 4 dragons to 0 now, I believe, and that's just going to be such a disadvantage coming in for QtPie's team. You know, only about 1k gold, or even less than 1k gold behind at the 60 game. Golden Glue, however, looks like he may go down here. Biofrost immediately following up the flash Zenith blade to try to get the kill. Is going to throw out the ult as well. Does get a Zingy's flash out of the situation. So excellent play from Biofrost to follow up there. Ethel not quite in a good enough position to get that last auto attack. The bloodthirsty support kill. He's got to get at least one, folks. I mean, he needs it. He's Leona. 1, 3, and 14 now. Excellent play from Biofrost. Excellent ult from Love. Definitely wants to land more multi-target ults, but in that case, a single auto ult or single target ult will do all the work that is necessary. Zen the Solo King more than happy to go in here. Does have his ultimate available. Has to be careful though. His team now running along the back with him. Nightblue, Cyclone will be up in just a second. Both teams trying to find the hard engage. You can see Biofrost hungry for blood running along that front line. Does have to be careful there, cannot afford to get juked out by Nightblue, and if he does not land the Zenith Blade onto Fabi, will be in a sore spot. The rest of his team has to follow up if he goes in, or just let him die and potentially lose yet another objective. So, despite the fact that QtPie's team can just go on as all 5 and win a fight, they do still need to be very decisive about how they choose to engage here, and Golden Glue's team playing, Nightblue's team, Golden Glue himself playing very patient. Backed up by Fabi, they just have so much poke damage in a lot of these situations, and despite the fact that Love will be able to keep most of them safe with those shields, you know, they still have to be incredibly careful on how they play this. I'm a QtPie, of course, using both of those Zhonya's cooldowns, as I mentioned earlier, so very well. Coming in big in these team fights, 4, 5, and 6 now, you know, not the best ratio, but when you think about how much work he's done in these team fights and how much attention has been directed at him in that last team fight, especially where he basically got all 5 members to focus him for 4 seconds. Between both of the Zhonya's cooldowns, almost 5 seconds with that ultimate. So if QtPie can continue to do that, continue to distract the enemy team, and continue to provide as much pressure and attract as much focus as he does, he will be able to win the team fights pretty much on his own, carry the team fights on his own, rather. Ethel now more than happy to play aggressive on the Zen the Solo King. Knows the Zen the Solo King does not have any of his cooldowns available. Does try to use his ultimate there. Not enough. Nightblue going to follow up. Once the target CC, Golden Glue can land and all. That's for sure. Ethel, however, not going to go down in this situation. Meanwhile, Quirky, Fabi going to take out Drigny. And an interesting trade overall. Nightblue playing very aggressive now. Not too scared. Did use the decoy there to get out. And Ethel getting out at such very low health. Not a situation he wants. Does get to heal up a little bit off those Raptors. Biofrost immediately going in over the wall. Has to be careful here. Level up it is able to follow up. Golden Glue may go down in this situation. Does not have enough defensive cooldown in this situation. But Fabi is doing so much damage in that situation. How many times can I say situations, folks? 4, 4, and 4 now. 5 forwards and Infinity Edge. Fabi doing a lot of work in that fight, providing so much damage. Now the rest of the team more than happy to follow up with the Baron. Meanwhile, QtPie Squadron is immediately going to move down the mid lane, try to take an inhibitor with this, but isn't going to be able to get anything. Will instead move down to the bottom side and try to get a tower once again. This is the kind of trade QtPie's team has been making all game. You know, trading a tower for a dragon objective, and in the early game, it was good because it recouped a lot of the gold loss they had from the kind of these sloppy team fights. But now as we move into the late game, you know, they're giving up Barons, and if they give up a dragon next time, then that will end the game. You know, Baron on its own, still very powerful, obviously stronger than it ever was in previous patches. And that 5th dragon buff, you know, I've heard it said so many times that it's just once you have it, the game is over, because it doesn't matter what your team comp is, you just do so much work, and every single member of your team becomes a threat. You can see the whole team now moving to get control of this dragon side. Despite the fact that dragon's not available for another 2 minutes, they are ever eager to get it. The 5th dragon buff pretty much sealing their victory. And meanwhile, PewDiePie squad playing very careful here. They know that with the Baron buff and with those Baron empowered minions that they have to play very safe around these towers, and they have to play very cautiously because, the next ace could end the game. When you have those Baron powered minions, you clear towers so very quickly, and of course when you have such a powerful poke comp, and with Corki with that Sheen as well, you're just going to push down towers so quickly. 4 dragon buffs additionally backing them up. All of this leading to a very powerful push comp. But a Zingy playing a little too far forward and taking a lot of pokes. So this could be the huge advantage for PewDiePie's team to follow up. Nightblue team, of course, having to stay grouped together, not wanting to risk getting engaged on in a less than 5v5 team fight, but also looking to get as much poke off as possible. Ethel really happy with the Bloodthirster buy, providing a shield, mitigating a lot of his poke damage in a lot of situations, and allowing him to safely wave clear without taking too much harass. Then the Soul King immediately going to get it all done, does not have Mega Narc. It's slowly building rate for the situation. That's like when they go in to be able to take down Ethel. Does have the exhaust on the exhaust when that is burned. Zingy may go down in this situation, but Nightblue is going to be able to take out PewDiePie before he can go down. Nightblue is finally going to go down to Love. Exactly what they wanted, those Baron powered minions coming in huge. Then the Soul King finally has that Mega Narc cooldown. Isn't going to be able to get too much off here. Does clip him with the ult into that little piece of wall right there and picks up the kill. Fabi now waiting around the outside of the turret, waiting for those minions to get in. Has to be careful here. Biopros playing hyper aggressive. Does not want to give up his inhibitor if possible. But Corki, of course, with those Hex Tech shells, is going to be able to pick up or just do so much true damage and pick up that kill on Leona. So good play from the team overall. A little bit of a sloppy engage, and of course good read from PewDiePie's team to engage when Zen the Solo King could not use any of his Mega Gnar abilities, but because they were a little bit far behind and because they didn't engage as 5, they were punished for it very quickly. PewDiePie himself playing a little bit too cocky, didn't have any follow-up for the team, despite once again taking so much attention, and now this is going to be the 5th dragon for I'm wondering. It just says burn and all caps with an exclamation point, and you think that must be what Nightblue's team is ready to do to burn down the enemy base. Playing so confidently, against these Wombo comps, you have to play decisively, and that's exactly what Nightblue's team is doing once again. Not quite the gold advantage they had in the early game, but now 18 to 25, a 5k gold lead, doing so well. Gnar picking up that elixir to give himself tenacity, to give himself size, is going to take so much attention in these team fights, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how much work this dragon buff does as Zingy and Fabi warming in their own jungle. Not wanting to play too forward without the team there to follow up. Interesting map movement from the team as a whole. Zen the Soul King, meanwhile, knowing he has his easy cooldown up shortly, will play pretty carefully as he pushes out that bot lane, and Golden Glue more than happy to pick up that kill on PewDiePie. Once again, PewDiePie getting caught out. Obviously, so much damage coming in from Golden Glue. Dragon buff not playing too much of an effect there, though. 12% AD and AP coming out from that at this stage in the game, but once again, Golden Glue just does so much work. Obviously, none of that damage was ult associated. Alright, I gotta stop talking smack about Golden Glue's ults. Someone's gonna start a hate thread. But Golden Glue now looking much more confident, has a sizable gold advantage, 8-2 and 10, doing a lot of work for his teams despite some awkward team fights, doing really well here, and it looks like they're very quickly going to burn through this. Remember that they have 20% increased tower damage and 20% increased damage to minions and monster. Those double buffs are so huge at this stage in the game, and Golden Glue more than happy to pick up the last couple auto attacks there, burning the Banshee's Veil for Grigny, and now eager to burn down the Nexus at this stage in the game. PewDiePie's lineup looking ready. You do see that Magus elixir picked up by Love. They know that this last team fight, or this next team fight, could be the last. Grigny engaging here, does have the team ready to follow up. PewDiePie going in and picking up Golden Glue. PewDiePie immediately using his Onions to play safe here. Fabi's going to have to back away from Leon, and Ethel not quite sure where to go. Has to use is going to get engaged immediately by Zen the Solo King. It does use his ult on Ethel. Ethel may go down here. Ethel immediately going down to that first. Nightblue playing super aggressive onto Love. Love is going to go down. PewDiePie himself is going to go down as well, having to burn all of his earlier defensive cooldowns. That dragon buff just doing so much work in those fights. It doesn't matter who fights or who goes in. Every single one of them is a threat to the whole team. Zen the Solo King playing fantastically, zoning Ethel out of that team fight completely, and it looks like there's going to be 2-0 for Nightblue's squad. Will we see the comeback from PewDiePie's lineup? It's not clear, but at this point with Nightblue's team looking so confident, PewDiePie is going to have to step his game up. Had a much better early game this time, but even then in the late game, the lack of decisiveness, the lack of clean engagements coming out from his team, and a little bit of communication from PewDiePie and Grigny perhaps engaging too early